been a forest ranger for 3 years. Yesterday I learned what a code black warning means, and I wish I hadn't. The static from my handheld radio cut through the silence of Tower 9 at exactly 6:47 a.m. Ranger Callahan, this is base. We need you to run a perimeter check on the northwest sector. Got some weird readings on the seismic monitors overnight. I grabbed my thermos of coffee and clicked the transmit button. Copy that, dispatch. Anything specific I should be looking for? There was a pause that lasted just a beat too long. Just check for anything unusual. Report back within the hour. The way dispatch said unusual made my stomach tighten, but I'd been doing this job long enough to know that unusual in a national forest could mean anything from illegal campers to a bear getting into the equipment shed. The morning air was crisp as I descended the tower's metal staircase, my boots clanging against each step. The forest stretched out before me in that perfect stillness that only exists right after dawn, when the nocturnal creatures have gone to sleep and the daytime ones haven't quite woken up yet. I loved this job for moments exactly like this. The solitude, the responsibility, the feeling of being a guardian of something ancient and important. My truck was parked at the base of the tower, covered in a thin layer of morning dew. As I climbed in and started the engine, I noticed my radio was picking up more static than usual. Not enough to worry about, but enough to be annoying. The seismic station was about 20 minutes from my tower, tucked into a clearing that the Forestry Service had carved out specifically for monitoring equipment. We had 6 of these stations scattered throughout the park, all feeding data back to headquarters. I'd only been called out to check on them a handful of times, usually when squirrels chewed through wiring or weather knocked a solar panel loose. When I pulled into the clearing, everything looked normal at first glance. The equipment shed was still locked, the solar panels were intact, and the seismic monitor's little green light was blinking away like it was supposed to. But then I noticed the trees, about 30 feet from the station, in a perfect circle roughly 40 feet in diameter. Every tree was stripped of bark from about knee height to roughly 8 feet up, not damaged or scratched, stripped, like someone had taken a potato peeler to each trunk and removed the bark in clean vertical strips. I'd never seen anything like it. I walked the perimeter, taking photos with my phone, and that's when I noticed the ground inside the circle was completely dead. No grass, no mushrooms, no pine needles, just bare dirt that looked like it had been sterilized. Even the air smelled different here, like ozone after a lightning strike mixed with something chemical I couldn't quite place. I radioed back to dispatch. Yeah, I'm at the Northwest Seismic Station. Got something definitely unusual here. All the trees in about a 40-foot circle around the equipment have been stripped of bark, and the ground looks dead, like nothing's growing. Another long pause. Can you send photos? Already took them. Uploading now. While I waited for a response, I walked closer to examine one of the stripped trees. The bark hadn't been ripped or torn. It was gone, completely smooth underneath, like the tree had been pressure washed down to bare wood. I touched the surface and immediately pulled my hand back. It was warm, not hot, but significantly warmer than it should have been in the cool morning air. That's when I noticed my radio was emitting a low hum I'd never heard before. Not static, but a steady electronic tone that made my teeth hurt. Dispatch, are you broadcasting some kind of signal? I'm getting weird interference on my radio. Negative, Ranger Callahan. We're not transmitting anything unusual. The hum got louder. I turned down the volume, but it didn't help. The sound was coming from the radio itself, not through the speaker. Then all 6 of my emergency flares, which I kept in a belt pouch, ignited simultaneously. Bright red smoke erupted from my waist as I frantically tried to remove them, burning my fingers on the hot casings as I threw them to the ground where they hissed and sputtered in the dead dirt circle. What the hell? I shouted, more confused than scared. Emergency flares don't just light themselves. They require specific activation, pulling the cap and striking the primer. There's no way all 6 could ignite at once unless they were exposed to intense heat or radiation or something I didn't understand. My radio screamed to life with the loudest burst of static I'd ever heard, and then a calm, measured voice I didn't recognize said, "All Rangers, this is a code black alert. I repeat, this is a code black alert. Return to your stations immediately and await further instructions. Do not attempt to investigate any anomalies. Do not approach any civilians. Lock yourselves in and maintain radio silence until contacted by authorized personnel." The transmission ended as abruptly as it started. I stood there in the clearing, surrounded by dying red flares and stripped trees, trying to process what I'd just heard. In 3 years as a forest ranger, through countless training sessions and emergency drills, I had never once heard the term code black. We had codes for fires, for injuries, for missing hikers, for dangerous wildlife, for evacuations. We had color-coded alert systems for weather and protocols for natural disasters, but code black? That wasn't in any manual I'd ever read. I grabbed my radio and clicked the transmit button. Dispatch, this is Ranger Callahan. Can you clarify the code black alert? I don't have that protocol in my reference materials. Silence. Dispatch, do you copy? More silence. I tried 3 more times and got nothing but dead air. My phone showed no signal, which wasn't unusual this deep in the forest, but the timing felt wrong. Everything felt wrong, and that's when things took a turn I never expected. The rest of the story is linked below or on my channel.